Hey guys, I am super tongue-tied today. I cannot get this intro done, so my marketing director, Morgan's going to handle it for me. So here you go.
In this episode, join Josh, Joe, Wes, and Brad to talk about mayoral runs, voter turnout, local versus national politics, and a whole bunch of other banter.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. Check it out.
Do you think it's because of that? Do you think they just haven't gotten to it yet?
Two things.
No, there's got to be a strategy,
Well,
right?
first of all, in the reproductive sense, blanks is not very good, right? You're not shooting anything. If you're not shooting, you're not firing.
That's a tough start to that
It's
episode.
it's already bad because
I'm
the
just,
podcast.
It just
not
shows our
surprised I wasn't
posture is already
offered a
struggling.
mic.
She's sitting up all proper. We're already
That's
struggling.
okay.
Is there another one?
No, I'm fine. I'll be good.
How are the
look
cameras?
great. You look like you're giving an interview for the
I've had
Women's
practice.
Final Four. We got to talk.
Who are your picks?
I feel like we're the guest. She's the more official one over here.
I know that's the way this is going to go. It's going to end up Josh and Joe running this shit, and it's going to be us be like, I don't know the answer.
Thank goodness
Brad,
we're
I'm
3
so
hours in
nervous.
today. You just bring this up. They actually did their research. I'm so glad.
It
We're
doesn't
gonna
have
look
to
dumb
stay
yet
in
again.
I am
context.
so.
Yeah, we can-
Well, first of all, thanks for
Thanks for
doing
joining
this.
us.
Okay.
Cheers,
Yes,
guys.
cheers.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank
go
you.
gadget arm. Clink.
Clink.
Got it,
Clinky,
Joe.
clinky. We don't have any ice cubes this time, though.
No, we're doing
We're like-
wine in a rocks glass.
Thank
We
you,
don't wanna-
Thirsty Owl.
dilute our Thirsty Owl.
That's true.
Get your dry Riesling at your local liquor store
That's right.
There you go.
from Thirsty Owl.
What's the one in New Hartford? Bremer's?
Bremer's.
Bremer's.
Bremer.
Everyone's not very confident when they go with it, but it's,
Bremer,
it's
Bremer.
definitely
You just gotta
Bremer's.
commit to
Just
it,
mumble
yeah.
it. Mumble it. Bremer, Bremer.
Commit to Bremer's.
Bremer's.
Yeah.
Possible sponsor. Hi.
I was going to say, you just may have messed that one up.
Well, my middle name
He used to be a local.
used to be.
Wait.
So, speaking of whom, on this show we have Josh Cupp.
That's right.
The better looking older brother.
Full disclosure, better looking older
Let's get
brother.
that out now. We need to get that out now.
Well, Johnny would have something to say about that. I think he would vote for himself in that election.
He might.
There are more
Perhaps.
cups out there, people. Believe it
Yeah.
or not. I've
Sorry
got two
about
in
your
one
luck.
room.
And the other half of the Josh and Joe podcast, Joe here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
Joe,
us.
give us the scoop. What do you do?
What do I do? I
went right into it. I went
She
right
might, have,
after
she
you.
might struggle
Sure.
answering this.
Well, when I'm not recording with Josh
Mm-hmm.
for the Josh and Joe podcast, which I have to say, this is a first guest appearance.
Yeah, it's odd being the guest because we have guests on.
I know.
This is really
You've
interesting.
made it big time.
Now you know
you
you've
made
made it.
Rome, New York.
Let me,
It's
as
where
you
it's
describe
happening.
what you do, if one of the things that you mentioned isn't
I
working
know.
shifts at Thirsty Owl, I'm going to be hot. Thirsty Owl Saratoga. All right, continue.
When it's snowing, the first thing I do when I wake up is actually get up and throw the shovel in the back of the car and help your dear brother shovel snow. This is a true story. Happened 3 times already,
Oh, yeah.
but nobody's counting. But
Except
by,
for Joe.
That's when I get the invite too.
That's right.
When they're predicting a foot of snow in Saratoga.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. By day, I am a lobbyist by profession and a consultant for both national and some international projects. And I've been lobbying since 1994 at the ripe old age of 21 years old after
wow.
coming from Saratoga Springs, after graduating from Skidmore College. So I've been what they call an agency lobbyist, which means you're a lobbyist working for an agency with a multitude of clients. And I've also worked in-house as a lobbyist for an international company called SAP. You may or may not have heard of it. It's the largest business software company in the world, based out of
I
Germany.
just know the button.
The button on my remote control.
That's all I know.
Different SAP.
Different SAP.
That's my level.
I did that for several years, and then I went in-house for a law firm, also as a lobbyist. I am, by education, also a lawyer, but never practiced law because I was too busy raising 2 babies and working and just never got a chance to take that bar, which was just a little too much studying. And life took over.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Georgetown law.
Oh,
She can
Wow.
read and write.
Hoya Saxa.
Hoya Saxa, if you will.
Remember that Hoya Saxa, that thing that was written down by the canal?
Sure, yeah.
And they,
The key bridge
all
there,
the
yeah.
Georgetown kids thought it was so cool. Hoya Saxa. They didn't know what it meant. I didn't know it, but I didn't care.
Right.
Hoya Saxa. We've mentioned that on the podcast, and I
We
make
have.
fun of you all the time for that, as if you were the one who spray painted it on the side
I
of the
may
canal.
or may not have been the one who
Could be.
sprayed it.
Yeah, very good. But Joe, also, subs on the occasional bar shift at Thirsty Owl Saratoga.
You know, you warned her not to leave that off. I think she
That's
left it
right.
off.
Yeah.
I was getting to
landed
Yeah, you're
all
getting
in
to
there.
it. Yeah.
But she did eventually.
Quite
And
the
so-
resume,
So,
Joe.
Joe's shoveled at least 3 times, maybe more.
Yes.
And it
Good
seems
exercise.
every time she shovels, the shovel breaks. She shovels with such ferocity.
I did break one myself. When I
Wow.
was there. We're
You
really
guys are really
tearing through that.
gotta get
Let's
off
not
of,
bring that
brand up.
Well,
That's right.
we do get a kickback from the store in
That's
town.
right. That's
yeah.
right.
That's what it is. Buying in bulk.
Perhaps the funnest thing I do is bar back at the Thirsty Owl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You
there
meet a lot
go.
of great people.
Yeah,
Great people.
she's tied with Seco as the #1 rated bar back at Thirsty Owl
Oh, a
Saratoga.
tie. Oh.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but
that's-
I'll take it.
Both strong
I'll take
efforts.
Seiko is, of course, your son, my nephew. We won't reveal his age for labor law issues, but he's a
No,
heck of
they-
a kid.
Isn't there an owner exception?
If you're on a farm, maybe. I don't know.
He doesn't pour, so I think it's legal.
It's okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you pay him nicely?
a wonderful rate. The same as the rate in Bangladesh.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, so it's very similar. Yeah.
But regarding government relations lobbying, these days you can do it from anywhere in the world because of the internet. And I enjoy my time back in Saratoga and hanging out with your brother at the Thirsty Owl and doing the podcast. So you get to do a lot of cool things.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that begs the question, do you feel like face-to-face lobbying is more effective, or do you feel like it's just as good virtually?
It's just as good virtually because they don't want to see you.
Right. Okay.
You know, if you asked your local congressman for a meeting, and you're a pretty cool dude from this area, I think he'd take a meeting, but really they just don't want to see you. They're busy. The rule of thumb is you go in for 5 minutes, you leave after 5 minutes.
Oh, that's what you get.
That
5.
was-
Tell me what you need. Tell me how I can help, and I'll let you know if I can or am willing to. And that's all I want. I don't need a lunch. I don't need a.
Correct.
So you're not
Sit
asking about
down.
the kids.
Probably
you're
better.
going right in. You're going right in.
That pisses them off.
Does it?
I love
Yeah.
that.
All right.
I love that
This is
so
good.
much more because we
I
heard from a
appreciate that.
lobbyist as well. You know, we're sitting in DC. We're getting a quick prep. He's like, I think we had 20. He gave us 20 minutes because he wanted us to make a connection of the week. We know you're busy. I know you got this vote coming up. You know, and then you try to sell yourself so they remember what the heck you said.
Sure.
And then you do your pitch for 5-6 minutes, and then you do an ask, and then you're out the door.
Yeah.
And I think
That's what makes a good lobbyist.
I can
think-
appreciate that.
I think that's what I was. It was cool because you're in this really intense mode for 20 minutes, trying to make sure you hit all your check marks.
Yeah.
You're trying to have it go fluidly, and it was the first time in a long time where you just kind of like, it's just a high intense thinking because you don't know what they're going to say and how it's going to spin, or if the conversation should end, shouldn't end. There's a lot of like internal thinking going on. It's like, have I talked too long? Or, you know, it's just that because you might be talking to the congressman, you might be talking to their staff, which is sometimes better because they're the
Yes.
ones
Correct.
pushing the legislation.
Quick
and stuff
study
like
over
that.
here, right?
I mean, this is only a couple weeks ago. If this was months ago, I would have none of this in my head. But
Right.
but going and trying to lobby for, especially since I'm in the industry, it was a fascinating time.
So 2 things, you're correct. I remember scheduling clients for meetings with maybe 9 or 12 members of Congress and senators within 7 hours. So we're just running from one place to
Yep.
another. So you're correct. You better be quick on your toes, and you better
Who's
know
doing
your
what?
stuff.
Who's voting on what?
Absolutely.
It's yeah.
How did you feel when you walked into Washington, into the what they call the hallowed halls of Congress?
I felt important for 2 seconds. Then you're like, they're not going to remember me. But it's just such a cool like, I mean, for especially who's someone who's not in that environment. To be able to experience it was cool, and we do try to do it once a year. We try to get board members from America's newspapers and everybody to kind of fly in. We try to do a push,
Yeah.
and you know, we're still looking for sponsors and certain of them, and it's such a chess game, and that's what's kind of cool about it. I mean, it is a game, it really is, and which is why it's interesting to be in it, and then what you hear after it, it's just all fun. I could see why people can kind of get sucked into it and kind of get addicted to it.
Sure. It's a center of power.
It is.
There's no money, but there's a lot of power and influence.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, when I started in Washington, I realized the 2 of you were also in the vicinity.
Mm-hmm.
What years was that? American University?
Yeah, so Wes went to school there, went to American University, and you started in what, fall of 98?
Exactly. Well done.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came along in October of 2001. Remember coming in as a 23 that ends up going across the Key Bridge? But I remember driving right by the Pentagon, and it was
To your right. Yeah.
a month after 9/11 is where I'm going with that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
very
that was
easy to remember when that was for me. And I was there till the spring of 2005. I coached the golf team after Wes had left.
We must have crossed paths in spirit because obviously I was all over DC and you guys were all over DC,
Yeah.
going on dates and
Going
studying.
on dates.
Hopefully studying.
Going on dates.
That's the go-to.
I also coached the golf team at American. but I-
Oh yeah, yeah.
I-
It was
He was
productive.
really there.
productive.
Yeah, he was there for the social life, though. There's no question about it.
And they actually won a few titles while you were there, of course.
Precious few. We didn't have a super gifted program once, quite frankly, once my brother left, it was because we had one scholarship to give out of 4.5. Then we lost that one, and then we lost the entire program shortly thereafter. So it was a challenge, but we did. I mean, we did well. I mean, there were 221 Division I men's programs. I think when I got there, we were 165. And by the time I left, I probably got it down to 125, even though we lost a scholarship.
Yeah, that's impressive.
But then that was great. It was a good experience. It was interesting. We've talked about this. Is that the 4 years that I lived there, I could care less about politics. I probably cared about politics before. When I was in school, I studied criminal justice and women's studies, and I felt like I cared about social sciences and that sort of thing then, and then I cared about it more after that. But the time that I was in D.C., it was just bizarre that was the time where politics were just not on my personal radar at all.
Did you feel a little bit of something when you were in Washington? Is that something that was exciting for you?
I did major in poli-sci, so it was something kind of on my mind. But yeah, I mean, September 11th was a big event, being down there for that and seeing the smoke billow from the Pentagon.
Yeah.
So that was pretty earth-shattering for me.
Where were you? Because you weren't there yet. Where were you when 9/11 hit?
I was getting ready to go to class. I was in my apartment, actually watching the news.
The Berks? Were you in the Berks?
I was in the Berks.
Yeah.
The Berks. And I did peer out the window and see the smoke. So they checked out. Went to class. We went to class, and they closed campus and evacuated everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There's this big theory that, our campus looks like a mini mall, and so we should probably get out of there from the sky,
Yeah, your proximity to the White House and the Pentagon and some of the defense.
Just a few miles.
Yeah,
3 miles, I'd say, right?
In the class I was in, there were 2 people there whose parents worked in the Trade Center.
Oh.
It was tough.
Yeah. On the lighter side,
Yes. On that note,
DC's fun. There's a lot of professionals who go there, and they are young. They're usually young. You saw a lot of the staffers.
Yeah, I mean, when you walk into the cafeteria area, and it's just, you picture it when you've never been, you kind of form this seriously old white guy just sitting in the corner, I guess sometimes. But then you see all these young staffers just trying to man, I could talk to them, but you're not going to. It's like a weird environment where you see everybody in their 20-somethings trying to figure out how to make their mark somehow in it. And it was just I don't know if you guys have ever been in the on the Hill or anything for any of that, but it's a cool experience. And I think if anybody has a chance to lobby for something or to be in that environment, one, it will push you to think, especially when you have multiple lineup in a different way than normal. Usually going to a meeting when we prep, even now, you know the slate in front of you. You got one task for the day or maybe 2, but when you have 6, 7, it's like, okay, you swing this way, I got to use this mark. When we're pitching to the Democrats versus Republicans, it's a different pitch. You're using different parts of the bill to kind of draw them in to explain it. And just a little slip, especially when you're dealing with staff, it's a little easier when the congressman or woman is in there because you're like, okay, I know who I'm talking to. But when you're talking to a staffer, I feel like, what's your name first off? And then, you try to make all these connections to maybe 2 or 3 people in the room.
And you're looking at her and they're like, you're 23 years old.
Yeah,
You're
I know.
a teenager.
You're
young. Average age is
right.
about 26.
Yeah,
Is it really? Yeah.
it's an eye opener for sure. And I'm glad it just happened for this conversation. At least I had something to contribute.
But they're young, but they're the best and brightest.
You're
You're not
No,
kidding.
No,
Absolutely.
that's the other thing. They're there for a reason. They really are. And it really is true when you can talk to the staffers. At first I thought, I got a staffer, but no, they're the ones kind of putting everything in front of the signing power.
Yeah.
And if you can get through to them, they can be swayed one way or the other, which is just another thing to add. to getting something done.
Yeah, I mean, I know this stuff. I'm watching The Recruit on Netflix. I know it's the best and brightest. This isn't someone who graduated with a 2.5 from Cortland. This is
true.
someone who graduated from AU or GW with a 3.8. And
100%.
At least we didn't.
Phys ed.
yeah, I just think that's the cool part about it, is that you're talking to people that get it and they want to leave their mark. You don't know where their career is going to go in politics.
Yeah.
They might phase out and go, this is, they might get depressed by their experience, or they might, they want to be the president of the United States. They want to, they want to do this. They want to have a lifelong career in politics. So, I mean, you're kind of
trying to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, our congressman for NY22, Brandon Williams,
Yep.
is a freshman in there. And my other side job is Rome Chamber of Commerce. And the president for that at the moment. Not for very long, thankfully. But I'm the interim president. But I've been talking to their staff quite a bit.
Great.
And so Ryan is the guy who I've been talking with. And so, of course, what do? I kind of look him up, see yeah, he's like, 23, 24. And, seems like just what you're describing.
Yeah, probably from this area. Most
Yeah.
likely, sometimes, right?
I assume so, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I think most of them were from at least
Where he
going
got
to-
his team
From the
yeah,
district.
Yeah, from the district.
Yeah.
Because they have to be boots on the ground too sometimes.
That's true.
They're the ones calling bullshit and everything at the same time. Yeah, I think the most of them are local.
This is actually a good segue to what we were talking about in the car on the way over here, where Josh.
Taylor Swift lyrics?
That too.
Going to a concert.
Ooh,
Yeah,
we'll,
come
we'll
back
get to that.
Yeah,
We'll circle
come back
around.
to that. We'll come back.
Josh was asking me what's the voter turnout in Rome, New York for the last mayoral election, congressional election, and that you had some good comments about how that really matters, the voter turnout, and maybe what the goals are for the next type of folks who
Well,
run.
we're just talking about, even before that, we were talking about local politics versus more of a national election, that sort of thing. And we looked on the way up just to kind of prep. We had no idea what direction we were going to go to, and it's fairly political heavy so far, and that's cool. I like that. It's right up your alley. Both these guys enjoy that too, I think. But a poor presidential election, we'll see like a 55% turnout. One of the highest ever, JFK, that was 63%. So a poor election's mid-50s, but for voting age eligible people in a smaller town, you're looking at 25-30%. And Rome's last mayoral election was just under 20. So I think what a big win would be for the next race, the next election, would be to try to get that up into the 28%. And there is a lot of apathy on the local election, and I admit, I'm the guy you got to reach. Somewhat educated, not smart. Let's not go that far. But
Was anybody taking it that far?
We're gonna go that far.
We weren't going that far.
I would love to take it that far. But I am the guy that it's just like I just don't show up for it. And I'm a transplant in the Saratoga Springs area, but I've been there for 11 plus years now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And I just find it hard, and it's not a knock against Saratoga Springs or any of the candidates. I find it difficult to want to show up and pull the lever for that thing. And I'm the guy you got to reach, and I don't know what the way to get there is, and whether you run or whether you don't run. I mean, it's just a win is to get people out and to care about and wanting to vote.
It really does become a ward battle here. If you win 5-6 here in Rome, you're going to win.
That's
they're
what the
the
biggest turnout is.
Yeah, they're the
Traditionally.
just looking at the history, and it is unfortunate, like you said. It's like the if you want to relate it to the national, it's like the Obama using Facebook at the time timing. He did that. I mean, it's kind of alluding to what you're saying. He's like, there was a different message, there was a different market to try to do the push, and that's I think that's what really helped him solidify the position as president, was going after exactly what you're saying. How do I get the non-voters to vote?
Just get them motivated to get there.
Yeah.
Right.
In Obama's case, I remember this race very clearly. I've been in Washington since Clinton, and I called him the MTV candidate. Obama was really good with that MTV generation
Did
around
you
the
come
time.
up with that?
Yeah.
Nice.
like that.
But it is. It's true.
Yeah.
He was a rock star. People didn't even know who he was, what he was. Nobody knew that all he was a community organizer in Chicago, and
Right.
a 2 second-year senator which is significant. But he
But
really,
to the national audience, that wasn't a huge name.
absolutely
No, I
not.
mean-
But good-looking, tall, well-spoken, charming. African American rock star, and he really knew how to talk to people.
He really did.
So I called him the MTV candidate because he really reached a group of people who wouldn't traditionally come out and vote. It was just a cool thing to talk about Obama. It was a cool thing to have his Andy Warhol photo on your wall, or at that time your Facebook account. So
MySpace, was it?
huh?
Was it MySpace? Or-
Your space, MySpace, Friendster.
That's right. MySpace.
Friendster.
Yeah. But the terrible thing is, and this is part of what we were discussing in the car, is did they really care about the issues? Did they even really know his voting record? The answer is no. It was just a cool thing.
But the cool thing is, it always comes down to percentage voted.
Yes.
Okay. And
He had a lower
you can talk
turnout.
Facebook, you can talk social media, you can talk all you want about that election, but still fewer people, registered voters, voted in that election percentage-wise than
Absolutely.
they did for JFK. Young, charismatic, someone that cares or seemingly cares more. Whether you like them or not, that's going to drive people out to vote, and that's what you're looking for. And when's the last time in a real local election you saw someone just jump out there and go, I'm running. It's okay if you don't vote for me, but I need you to get out there and vote. Here's how I feel about this topic, and this topic. Let's get out there and vote. The real win for the community is if you could somehow in Rome, New York,
Rattle the trees a bit.
get that to 30%.
You just moved me as a voter. I was
Wow.
like, yeah, I'm with him.
Well, and that's
Right.
why
It's just been so traditional, and that's a euphemism around here, of just you announce, you invite maybe the Sentinel in a news station, you announce with your friends and family around. Then after that, we really don't see you unless the chamber holds a debate in October. I mean, there really is, I don't know how much they spend, but it can't be much.
Well, I think this is.
I've just
I
never
don't-
seen any efforts or social media or anything like that. No
Sad.
one's really jumped into that.
I think that's why, and I don't know if this is going to blow you up at all, but I think I was always excited when we were talking about your potential run as a mayor. We had it was fun brainstorming and like talking about it and like, man, we could do this, we could do that, we could do all of that, just to have fun with it. And I'm glad you made a decision that you did because we have so much stuff going on. But
Selfishly.
but yeah. But no, I think it would have at least been a wake up period. It would have been a little bit different. I feel like it's just so stale, and it's just the same. Like you said, we do our coverage, which is what it is. We do an event with the chamber. We might have a live debate, if you can call it that, and then you go vote, and then the same people that voted for the past 10.
The margin wasn't big at all in the mayoral race.
No, it was pretty tight last night. It was Halpin as a Democrat, although he is now a Republican.
Yeah, there's a lot of that because as a county, we found out it's split.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close as a coin flip. However, it is
49-51.
split Rome, Utica, in kind of the east-west type way where we're more Republican on this side of the county and then Democrat on the other. Which is also why you have a Republican in the seat of mayor here and a Democrat in the seat over there. But no, it really is. It's a party line. Oh, I'm gonna phone it in here. And I mean, I would
do you
love for
realize-
someone to prove us wrong on that.
Well, do you
but-
realize you're
Right.
one congressional district that was hotly contested in the congressional race because you voted Republican in the congressional race, but for the Senate, you guys voted Democrat.
So it is not a death sentence to go one way or the other. That's what we researched on the way up. I mean, it's an hour and 47-minute drive door to door. And it was other than talking about The Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift.
And Chick-fil-A.
We did talk Chick-fil-A a little bit.
Chick-fil-A.
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 But talking about American University, here's a little sidetrack. The Chick-fil-A, who didn't go to Chick-fil-A on campus at
That's a
American
strong play.
University? Yeah.
And the
I've
tavern.
only been once.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A or American
I'm
University.
scared to say that out loud. But I've only been to
Blasphemy.
Chick-fil-A
It
once.
wasn't on a
There's-
Sunday.
No, it wasn't on a Sunday. But there was one on the throughway now.
Obligatory. You gotta say, I don't open on Sundays. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's always a big talking
It
piece
is.
about Chick-fil-A. But, back to but we think in a national landscape, in the national landscape of both parties, you think, okay, someone's a Democrat. Okay, they vote left socially. They vote, more entitlement. They vote more, socially liberal. They vote, the gay marriage. We can get all those. We can get all those, all those different items out and talk about what is traditionally left, what is traditionally right. But on the local level, what does that look like? What does that even mean?
Exactly.
All of
Good
those issues
question.
that get you triggered aren't issues at the municipal level.
That really can't trigger. Yeah.
Is it about bridges and roads?
Like infrastructure?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer
What's
to
the
it.
big platform?
Right, around here.
There is none. Lisa Lanigan made an attempt to put out a platform. But really, like our current incumbent, Jackie Izzo, so she's on her 8th year and looking to get to year 12 here. I've never really seen anything that she's going to put forward. She kind of is a few projects that she's done. She's, of course, parading out there like anyone would, but there's no this is what I stand for. There's no
and that's where I wonder is there's been rumors of moving up the chain to county executive, where I think you have a little more oomph behind what you say and do, and maybe. I mean, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but if you don't have to ruffle feathers, then why you ruffle feathers at the level? And especially if you might move up to another like a county level or even state, who knows? Then you're not backtracking and whatever you may need to do to win the battle. I don't know. I just made that up.
So if you can get through the game with a W without messing anything up.
You can still be, because when you
are you doing a favor for the constituents?
I was going to say, this sounds very passive and boring.
But when you sit in the conversations, like, she is active and been with a couple mayors in conversations. They are active at that one-on-one level with when you're trying to get major things built, right? You don't see it necessarily coming out as a campaign because doesn't, I don't know. Are you more about, and this is where I loved where we were talking about, you should have a CEO in that position, knows how to balance well, knows how to negotiate and stuff like that and get things through and moved to make a town grow.
I think Josh has a very good point. And again, that idea kept sticking when we were talking about this, is how do you get the voters out there? They really should care. They really ought to care because it matters.
But what are the I think that's a great question. What are at a mayoral level, what are the top, because you can't go after abortion. You can't go out,
we're not changing Roe v. Wade.
What are the top? And I'm sure, what would be the top?
Well,
couple?
here's how I see it. What I would say is, okay, if you shrunk down the parties and what they typically stand for, the old chestnuts that they stand for, let's say Republicans financially are more conservative and they're for, industry. They're for, okay, so maybe on the local level that would look like, okay, the mayor who's a Republican candidate talks about how they're trying to bolster activity at the Griffiths Park. RFA wants to expand, some part of their campus, but also, some big company wants to come in from out of town. They're competing for the same space, and maybe the Republican candidate would be all, well, I need to bring this industry in, and then the Democratic candidate would be like, well, we wanted to build the RFA wants to build a football field on campus here instead of using the one that's over on Turin. Like one's more kind of socially for the students or for the school, and then the Republican is more pro-industry. I mean, it'd be neat if you could just shrink it down to the local level, but there's no real, the old chestnuts of what is right and what is left on the national, landscape is just, it's not, you can't really compare it at the local level, but it'd be cool if that's kind of how it was, but it's not.
Right.
You're just running, and it's just weird. You have an R or a D next to your name, and it doesn't really matter.
And this is, I guess, we're going to keep bringing you up because I know what we talked about, but you were thinking about it. What would have been your platform? What would have been the selling points on the campaign trail?
I was just gonna pay everyone off and hope they would
that
vote for me.
works
Does that work?
Wonderfully. No one knows better than Joe.
Joe, does that work?
We'll talk offline.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to tout economic progress. I mean, that's such a blah. I mean, of course, I'm a business guy. That's what I want to bring to it, is that background. But mayors will thump their chest over what is coming to town. I mean, it's just an economic decision for the businesses. Like, you can't really brag about that. Giving them a nice climate for it and making a deal happen is fine. But really, if they think they're going to make money, they'll come in. And if not, they're going to avoid you. So you need to kind of, have some fiscal responsibility there. People love lower taxes. That's something that was promised and hasn't happened. It's stayed the same, but I think people, you run it like a business. You want to have the most services, the best spot to be without a whole lot of overhead. So you have to do how you can finagle that with the budget. So you do want services. You want to have a great town, a great city with programs, things to do, but you want to do it on the cheap as much as you can. And I think there's a lot of partnerships with businesses around that would be happy to help you with that. I think that's an untapped resource. I think a field house, indoor soccer. I spend half my time in Utica and in Whitesboro with all these indoor soccer. We have nothing here in Rome, but yet communities that are 10,000 people instead of 35,000, they have them, but we don't. But let's bring on businesses for naming rights for these places. Let's not have the taxpayer pay for it all. I think we can get that done with some partnership from the private side too. And I know a lot of people around just because I've done business with a lot of people, had great relationships with them, and I think they really want to get involved. I just don't think they know how to. So if we can do that, that's a great example of something that would be different, marry the two. Not just say, we're going to build a field house. Well, half people aren't going to like that because they don't want to pay for it. And they don't have kids.
How you
or
gonna
their
fund
kids
it?
are growing
Yeah.
up. I got to actually have a plan. You got to have a plan to fund it. You can't just, again, promise everyone you're going to have a 3-hour lunch recess and chocolate milk in the drinking fountains. You got to have a way to get it done.
See,
Is it oat milk? Is it oat milk or is that regular cow's milk?
Cow's milk.
Very good.
Yes.
I think I have to say this. I mean,
Yeah.
the Cup family, from my perspective, I've met you and met your father and your mother. I haven't met the older brother, but I've been to the
No,
property.
Johnny, just yet.
John Boy.
Yeah. I have to say, your family is a great mix of, first of all, obviously family values, and second of all, business-minded people who are not only there for capital or capitalism reasons. You also treat your staff very, very well, and that's a human management thing, which is very important for anybody in elected office. You have the business side, so I hear what you're saying, Brad, and also the human side of things. I'm sorry to say, but it sounds like a very passive mayor you have here. I'm sorry, Mayor Izzo, but I don't know you, and
Nice
I don't
job.
have to vote for you, and you don't have to like me. But that's kind of sad because it's a flourishing area. You guys have a great setup here with the newspaper. It should attract businesses. And what you're really talking about are public-private partnerships to build these soccer fields. There's opportunity here. There's a need here. And I guarantee you, if you build it, it will come. And people like Josh, who's a business owner in Saratoga Springs as well, a very popular one, both socially and professionally. Those are the people who the mayor should be knocking on your door. I'm really surprised that they're not. And that's a missed opportunity. So I think if you have somebody who wants to get out there, knock on doors, propose some of these proactive plans, you might have a pretty good shot at waking up some of the people who didn't vote. What is it? 20,000 people didn't vote around here?
Yeah, I mean, it was 5,700 people voted out of 26,000 that were eligible to vote. The population of Rome is just shy of 32,000. So it was 26 and change were eligible voters.
Yeah. If you got 20% out of 100% when you got graded at Old Dominion or American, what would your score be?
That wouldn't be good. That would be a failing.
It
would
would
be
be a poor mark.
Exactly.
Be a poor mark.
Exactly.
The generational changes do have. I mean, we see it in the media because people are getting married later. They're having kids later. They're in. That's the stuff where you need to pay attention more. Is just later in life now. And I think that's why we see it in media, because people read us for finding out what's going on in school districts, what's going on in politics, what's going on with taxes.
Yeah.
But if you're doing that 7 to 10 years later than it used to be. Then we lost of that 7 to 10 years, and now we're going off a smaller pool. And so what do we need to do? And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That just seems to be what is happening.
It makes
Yeah,
turnout more difficult.
Makes turnout more difficult because, I mean, I think back when. I didn't care when I was out yachting in St. Martin. When I was 20.
Yachting in
Weren't
St. Martin.
weren't we all?
Okay, let's be clear. I was
Okay,
a deckhand. I was not renting these things. I was
Very
a one
good.
stripe
We need to differentiate them. Yeah.
below
Yes,
deck.
yes, that sounds way better.
If you've seen below
I
deck,
was on the
that
yacht.
was me.
I'm
She was on the
I'm
yacht.
teasing. I was
with
not.
the
I was
politicians.
working my ass off. That's what I was doing.
But yeah, no. I mean, there's people. Everything's just moved moved later.
Yeah.
You got, trying to get people to read in the mornings the same way. They're just busy in the morning. There's both parties are working now. All that stuff.
But I think this podcast is a start for reaching an audience that probably can't pick up a newspaper, but can turn on a podcast while they're driving.
Sure. I give Wes credit. He said, when we were to come up with a concept, he's like, we're trying to get past the store-bought answers. When people talk to reporters, they know they're talking to somebody that's going to publish something. And at least here we can, or it's going to be a snippet, which is what's great on TV and really gets the clickbait and all that stuff. Here, if Izzo or Lanigan or whoever wants to come in and talk about a topic and spend 30 minutes on it and explain why, let's do it. Because we're trying to we're trying to talk a little bit more about why you made it. When our population was down and we didn't adjust the police force, the fire department, or stuff like that to mold the taxes, it's really tough to have that conversation. And even if you explain it, it's probably not going to be received well. But that's something somebody at least that's where you should be when you're a CEO of a town or a city. That's your job, is to make the tough decisions whether somebody likes it or not. And I think that's where this guy, not to say we're there now because we are growing. I think we're doing well as a city and everything, but at least analyze it. I think that's where it helps getting towns to coordinate more. But let's have the conversation at least.
Mayor's interesting. Wes and I had this conversation maybe a month ago. Is that in every town, every city, there's always a mayor, but they all have different powers, and it's all really weird. Like some cities and municipalities, mayor has, touches this button, this button, this button.
Right.
And then in some towns and, locales, there's not a lot of power at all. In Rome, I think is probably out of a scale of 0 to 10, I would say mayor in Rome's like an 8.5 for having ability to change policy and make decisions and push this button and make this happen. But I think, if you don't have those ceremonial answers to the questions all the time and talk and have really cool conversations about, okay, when I was in high school, this was a town of 44,000. We had 3 bookstores in town. And we have 0 now, and it's 32,000. And I understand when you lose Griffiths Air Force Base, I get that. But you can quantify what did we lose on Griffiths, right? We could quantify that. And we can say, if there wasn't a brain drain or if there wasn't a time where it was a little tough in Rome, let's say it was 44,000 in 92 or 91, and, it was inevitable that it was going to go down to 37,000. But how did we get to 32? What happened there? Not that necessarily population growth is just the only determinant of the success of your community, because of course it is not. But it's a barometer. You don't want to lose people, and you don't want to lose. You don't want to. This sounds like it's not a popular thing, but you don't want to lose the cool people. You don't want to lose the people that have the ability to really make a difference in the right people. You want to have people that are movers and shakers and have the ability to influence and, get the community going in the right direction, And if you can, if you wanted to bat those ideas around, I think that would gain some traction. If you have the store-bought answers, I love what you said. That's it's a cool phrase. If you can get off of that and get into answering the tough questions and talking about the tough things, you can't just talk about how this business moved to the Griffiths Park and how this happened. And you got to talk about the things that aren't so attractive and how you're going to fix those, And
Good point.
don't discount the reality that a certain block of voters, especially the younger ones, will vote just because they think you're cool. You're a cool guy, or you're a nice guy. Yeah, I met him at the bar. He had some cool things to say to me, encouraging things to say to me. I'm going to go out and vote, and I'm going to get 5 of my friends to stand in line with me just for fun.
Yeah.
So there's always that factor, and I kind of looked up Mayor Izzo's background, and she doesn't. I would.
Are you saying a lack of a cool factor?
She has a lack of a cool factor for
me. You
me.
can tell she's from D.C. She just doesn't give it. She just doesn't care. She just say it. I love it.
Like I said, I've seen enough congressional candidates come and go, senators come and go, presidents come and go.
Sure.
Let's just talk about that. Bill Clinton, Obama. Some of the most popular presidents, what do they say? Because he's charming, he's engaging, his charisma. That also plays a lot in voter turnout.
Voter turnout, you know that the young, cool person is going to win. If you can bump it up. So if the average presidential election is at 58% of the population that's voting, voting eligible, that is registered, let's call that 21% for a local election. If you could get that up to 24, the young, new, cool person, male, female, doesn't really make any difference, is probably going to be the one that wins.
Yeah. By the way, the congressman, I know he's new. I know he's a freshman.
What do you think of him?
I looked up what his positions were on issues. If you go to this congressional website, you can click on issues, and you can he'll tell us what his position is on armed services or climate change and so forth. Blanks.
What?
Oh.
Look it up.
You know what that reminds me
Blanks.
of?
Blanks.
Is when you're playing a Division I sport and your team has a website, and let's say it's the golf team. There's 8 kids on the team. The freshman always doesn't even say like his high school or his accomplishments.
Very weak, right
because
up in
the
the media
sports
guide.
information person didn't do it yet. But do you
So
think
what
it's
is the
because of
strategy
that? Do you think
there?
they just
Well,
haven't gotten to it
What's
yet?
the
Two things.
No, there's
Two-
got to be a strategy,
Well,
right?
first of all, in the reproductive sense, blanks is not very good, right?
Mm.
You're not shooting anything. If you're not shooting, you're not firing, and that's not a good thing. I'm really
We're
surprised
playing
that
right
he.
through halftime.
Oh, going right through it.
I'm really surprised that he does not have somewhere already written, even if it's just 1 or 2 paragraphs, on what he believes and what his position is on some major issues in Congress right now. I don't care if it's a general topic. Maybe you guys just confirm for me why his issues slate are blanks, is because you don't really have to have a position to win around here. It's party line voting.
Yeah, it
and
was
he would-
really odd. So for the chamber, we host a forum. We're very cordial around here, not a debate, but it's a
The
forum.
Yeah.
Forum.
So whether it's
Posh.
for mayor or it's for Congress, we have them in. There's a breakfast, and we ask them questions. But in a forum, they don't answer each other directly to keep it classy. So we these are 2 new people. We had Claudia and Brindisi there for a while, going back and forth. That was very captivating for
Yeah, that was good.
a couple of cycles. But we have 2 new people, neither of whom are from here.
Was it interesting, or are you being facetious?
What-
You
what-
said it was captivating. Was it interesting, or are
yeah,
you just saying?
Claudia and Brindisi, they were neck and neck recounts. It was very tight race.
Yeah, it was very
each time.
tasty.
But the
Took a
forum
while to
itself,
settle that,
was
too.
it interesting
Well,
dialogue?
it was funny because this one with our two newcomers, they gave the same answers. I think the first 5, I couldn't even tell who was the D, who was the R. I mean, it was almost like, yeah,
Well,
what he
but-
said.
But Brandon kind of alluded to that. That he
Yeah.
was like, I am obviously one party, but he kind of said I'm different. I didn't come up in politics. I'm just here to what I think the best idea is, whether it's Republican or Democrat. And that was kind of what he talked about during the breakfast.
But I also, to be fair, it was the Rome Area Chamber of Commerce.
agreed.
So
Not
they know their audience might be a bit business-minded more than the average, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Well, that's insulting to the people who are smart who are
Right.
listening.
Yeah, I'm like, are they just like railroading their answers to what we want to hear, or
You're
what
right.
is this?
Yeah, that welcome to politics.
It was a very odd race.
but
'Cause
Brad,
we
you
came
said
from
something.
fireworks before that.
You said something there. You said that, or one of you guys did. You said that they fashioned an answer, and you couldn't tell which one was the Republican, which one was the Democrat, and then you kind of echoed that. And then I saw Joe make a face over there. Now, to me, the ultimate politician is the one person who just votes their conscience and feels like some of how they feel or how they see things, whether it be economic development or a social issue, is just what they really truly feel is right, and that it can't just keep falling in party line. Then I saw you kind of make a face when they said, well, I couldn't tell which one was Republican, which one was the Democrat, and it was kind of lost in the mix. And then, Brad, you mentioned that, one of the candidates said, well, I'm not really trying to vote R or D. I'm just trying to do what's right and what I think is the best for, this particular issue or that particular issue. And I saw your face kind of went blank, like you were kind of grumpy about it. So do you feel like you just have to really kind of fall in line with the party concept on this issue or that issue? Or what was I saw a little bit of a minor stroke over there. I wasn't sure.
We want you to explain your stroke.
The word I would use again is passive. I mean, more than 300,000 people voted during the congressional race, during the midterm elections in this district. Great voter turnout out of 750,000 people, not adults necessarily.
That's interesting. I think that's so interesting.
So obviously people care, right? But to be passive about how you feel about certain issues, I just think that's inexcusable. Because if you're going to vote along party lines, you might as well be a pretzel. I mean, it's just
Inanimate object is what you're trying to say.
yeah, an
I
unsalted
love
one.
pretzels. I just got hungry.
We always have too much
But-
salt, though.
But to prove my point,
Half the salt.
everybody has access to the congressional websites of their congressman.
Yeah.
And Brandon Williams, 22nd District, agriculture, key issues, agriculture. For more information, call my office.
Yeah.
Is that because you're going to answer the question based on
Yeah,
who's
if I'm a
calling
dairy
you?
farmer,
Right,
I'm a
right.
dairy. Oh, I'm pro dairy.
Absolutely.
I'm pro dairy.
Yeah.
Lactose intolerance
Screw
is a
those
myth.
organic people, you know? Yeah.
Yeah,
Almond
or
soy,
if, you know,
terrible.
my kid just had a medical issue because of lactose. I'm pro oat milk.
I'm not big on wafflers.
Second time I
right?
brought up oat
Yeah, and I
milk.
think
here.
our turnout
Do I
was
get an
so
award for
good.
that? I don't
We
know.
had so much
Sponsor.
media time. I mean, my kids had every ad memorized for this race. I think the turnout was so good because we had two new humans. Our district was
Yeah,
wild. We thought
districts were all.
Elise thought she was going to be here. Claudia ran.
Oh, I know that.
Claudia ran for an
discussion.
easier fight down the road. So all of a sudden, there was just an empty net here. So I think a lot of dollars went into this
Yeah.
district.
But you
way
understand
things
my
broke
point.
down.
Like, if
I
you
do.
don't have a position, don't run for Congress. I mean, at least be brave enough to have a position and live and die by that position.
Sure.
If I asked you about what your position is on agriculture, let's say subsidies for farmers, you'd have some thoughts.
Sure.
January 3rd is when the last congressional session started. This congressional session started. We're almost April 3rd. That's 3 months. You don't have a position,
You should have a position.
or
I
at
agree with
least
you.
Or votes.
Fake it
or
till you
everything-
make
everything,
it.
Yeah.
Power forward. That's my position.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the whole thing's blank. It's not just. I mean,
you just
are there-
click on every
and
single
they're all.
spot.
Please call the office. That's how
Every
I-
single one. Agriculture. Let's see here. Issues. Key issues.
key issues.
Education.
Okay.
Please call my office.
Come on.
I
think we have an entry point.
We got to give Brandon a shot to defend
This
himself.
is
here.
I
live.
know.
Brandon, come on in.
Seniors. You
Is-
don't have
is
a
he-
position on
Are
seniors.
the phone lines open?
I can write this stuff.
Open
Come
up
on
the
in.
phone lines, Brandon.
yeah, no,
Another round. We can be reached at. You think I'm kidding? Give me the information. What's the Insta? What? Come on, guys. What do we got?
Brad?
How do you reach Brad and Wes at the Sentinel?
yeah, we you can do
Also
another
have
round.
handles for another round.
But, what?
We also have handles for another round, right?
Yeah, another round 315 is going to be all the
All the social.
social.
I mean, we're not mad, but make a move even if it's wrong, man. Stop in. These chairs are comfy.
No,
what camera am I looking at?
If people want
Stop
to
on
reach
in.
me,
Which one?
I'm on the community app.
Sure.
So people can reach me at 315-386-6815. They can text me anytime.
Yeah.
And hit me up. So
Yeah, this is the perfect
make it happen.
podcast.
Joe,
for
I
this.
love it though. I mean, I think that's a great.
For
it's
example,
little thing. It's
Great
little.
find.
for
It's something
example,
that can be easily
one of
done.
his
We just
key
want
issues.
you to stand for something,
Right, listen.
Make a move
One of his
even if it's
key
wrong.
issues-
even if it's wrong.
It says seniors. I'm sorry. Say that one again because that's really good.
It's kind of a cupism.
yes.
And is it kind of more of a Teddy?
It's a
start this one?
Teddyism. I don't know if
It's
he
just like
created this.
Make a move, even if it's wrong. When it comes to Teddy, though, it's always more of, should we stay at this gin mill and go to the next one?
right? Yeah, that's
Are we
usually
having
what
fun
he's
here?
We're going to be some DDs
yeah.
after that visit.
Yeah.
It's not usually about subsidies in agriculture.
No.
No.
Typically not.
This is not tough stuff.
Right.
Okay? Maybe your friend over there in his office should give us a call.
Yeah.
Senior citizens, that's a key issue of his. I could write one right now on the spot. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough affordable housing for senior citizens. Prescription drugs are way too high. Generic drugs should be made available to senior
Embarrassing.
citizen. And Social
Nationwide.
Security should be saved because this is what we are promoting. Veterans. Veteran healthcare is in horrible shape. They fought for our country. They shed blood for our country, or at least made an oath to protect and serve. They should be number one on the list for health care and other services.
You're right. Some of these have to be pretty easy to mean, some of them might get a little sticky. Some issues are easier than others, but some of them are.
Yeah, no one's going to
Pretty
say,
slam dunk,
you know, the
Right.
VO.
Who's going to disagree with what I just said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to get very far
Right.
anti-veteran.
Yeah, no one's going to say, you know, those veteran hospitals, they're way too strong. You got to defund them.
Way too
no one's
beautiful.
saying that. I mean, can't
Right.
you just give me something there?
Yeah,
Right?
it could be stock in, you know, just these are my principles. As the legislation moves forward, I will assess what the policies are and I will provide my position.
Sure.
Week. Now, I will say, as you said, you're a 26-year-old staffer. They're not paid a lot of money. The average salary is in the low 30s if you're lucky.
And that's in
These
DC,
people are
right.
barely eating.
Yeah.
They actually go from fundraiser to fundraiser just to have a decent meal throughout the day. True story.
Okay.
And so they're overworked, you know, deer in the headlights. Washington's very overwhelming. Lots of people are coming at you, constituents knocking on your doors, which that's why I try to avoid it. But have something.
So that's his own website. Like he chose to have that.
BrandonWilliams.house.gov, which is a generic one for all members of Congress,
Okay,
have
so
their
everyone
own
has their own.
website. And this is how you reach them. This is how you learn
Right.
about their policies. And give me something.
You know, they're at they're our neighbors at 421 Broad Street in our
Right,
Utica
yeah,
office. We might have to
Utica
go knock
office.
on the door literally. Be like,
yeah,
hey, anybody
just
in
say,
here?
why is it empty?
Hello?
And they might say we're drafting it. We're trying to figure it
Yeah, but
out.
jeez.
No.
well,
You ran on something. What was his position? What were his
Right.
positions? You
Then,
ran
then,
on
then
something.
when you know you won, you had a few months to figure it out.
When
to
you
get
win
website
that
ready.
election, that
won in November?
downtime, it needs to all be constructed and
Exactly.
it
Right.
should go up. If not the day that you take office, it should be within a week. If not within a month.
Yeah.
Certainly within 3.
Wonder
This
if
is
it
not a
was-
go-getter. Let me make a prediction.
Hmm.
Lower rank in some of the committees, not going to be that voice. No, he might move into it.
Sure.
I'm
But
not mad
remember-
at him.
Yeah.
I'm not mad. I'm just saying he needs to sit in one of these comfy chairs and talk to us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But remember,
He doesn't need to. It'd be fun for him. It's
he
Thirsty Owl Wine. It's dry Riesling.
This,
It's the
you know how hard it is to
2021,
find
man.
this? You know,
thank you,
you know how hard it
very
is to
much.
find this? I
They're
searched
out.
everywhere. I mean, would you guys raise the prices or something? Sorry if anybody
Yeah.
likes Thirsty
Don't do
Owl. but
that.
I'm willing to
Supply- this is
pay
a supply
a
and
premium
demand
for this stuff. all right?
Lesson.
Yeah.
Listen, I make one of the reasons why I bar back and cover for Josh once in a while is
Swipe,
because
couple of big
no,
purse.
no,
big
I
purse.
make the other bartenders set aside bottles for me in the back of the fridge before it runs
Yeah,
out.
because inevitably we get out of
true.
a particular
Sure.
vintage.
Yeah.
And Joe's jam right now is the Vidal Blanc,
It is.
or as some people say, the Vital Blanc.
Right. Some
It
do.
should-
Not correctly, but they do.
But they do.
Yeah,
they like
right.
it.
Yeah.
And then I get a lot of French Canadians that come in and say, it's not the Vidal Blanc, it's the Vidal Blanc.
Well,
Come on.
Montreal.
Montreal, you mean?
Montreal.
Well,
J'adore Montreal.
other questions for city folk like us. Saratoga is a
that's right.
happening place.
It is a happening. Whoosh, whoosh. Yeah, that's right.
We broke-
27% for our voter turnout for mayor.
And how is your mayor?
He's a Democrat. He's
Okay.
a glad hander. Again, to Josh's
Has he been
point.
there been there for a while,
Whoa,
or-
whoa, whoa, whoa.
He's-
For the people that don't know,
Sorry.
what did that term mean? And when I say for the people that don't know, I don't know what that means. What did you just say?
A glad hander.
Yeah.
Glad hander.
Right.
Do you guys know what this means?
Yeah.
Brad?
I mean, I could make something up, but
Okay, so I'm glad that someone else doesn't know.
No, wait,
Josh,
wait,
where's
wait.
your
Glad hander.
brain?
No, we can break this down though.
Glad hander. So just someone who's happy to say yes all the time. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yes,
kiss
kinda,
babies.
yeah.
No
and
substance.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
lots
That's
of
where I was going with
handshaking,
it.
but not a lot of real
Yeah.
true
So
politicking.
does that mean I
Right.
did
Just full
know
of
it or
shit
not
and-
know it?
yeah.
That's kind of a gray area.
glad handing.
Yeah, sure.
Brad, I like it. We really thought through
You
that.
see that we work.
What a team.
I mean,
What a team.
Wes is already sitting there going,
Context
it took him
clues are
this
amazing.
long?
that's how I run my life.
Yeah. Context clues.
I didn't go to American.